welcome to the Drawing Room Experts. This is Zaib, and finally, after another, too much of an extended gap, I finally have with me Sahir as part of the episode. How's it going, Sahir bhai?
Good, how are you?
Good यार, पता नहीं कहाँ आप ना ऐसे बीच में एक अपनी झलक दिखा के then you're out. What the hell?
I mean, number one, I think the major difference is the time difference between us,
Time
right? I
versus
mean, time
seriously.
difference is the major one, right? If that wasn't the case, then I'm pretty sure at late at night, after both our babies have gone to sleep,
हाँ.
we would have recorded much more sessions. But anyways, right? I'm here today. I was able to get some time today, so I think let's get started, and hopefully it's going to be a good session. At a very interesting topic that
हाँ.
that I
Which
would
you
like to discuss.
which you have researched in 15 minutes, so I'll give that caveat as well. But
Probably less than
to
that,
be
but
honest,
yeah.
to be honest, like इसमें कोई इतना कोई rocket science थी नहीं, but I think you needed time to see what both parties have said. क्योंकि just give a little bit of a background. Last couple of weeks ago, there was an unexpected feud in the sporting world. For those who follow football, like myself, for those who follow NBA, which I'm assuming, side by you, are much closer to that, because you have been like living in the US more often, and then I think you're more closer to the players and you know their background and all of that shit, right?
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Can we
Sure.
use the correct term here?
Oh.
You mean soccer, right? You
No,
mean
no.
kickball,
I actually,
not actually football, but
we'll have another episode to discuss the appropriate naming convention for the sport. But I honestly when I read that, क्योंकि मेरे Twitter पे या somewhere I saw like what the hell, like how is LeBron James responding or clapping back to Zlatan Ibrahimovic? So I was all of a sudden मैं तो intrigued हो गया था. मैं कहा what the hell happened? So just to give you, Sahir bhai, before we talk about what they talked about, just to give you a little bit of a background on Zlatan, and then maybe you can give a personality background on LeBron. क्योंकि I know
right.
LeBron very limited. मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि मेरा उससे राब्ता किस तरह का है, like how do I know him and how much I know about him. But let me give you a little bit of a background on Zlatan. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is like the Chuck Norris of football. ठीक है, अगर मैं इसको ऐसे describe करूं. If you read up all the memes on this guy, first of all, he's a very able, very good footballer, like very famous right up there. He's known to move around a lot, so he's played for like 100 clubs. बहुत सारे clubs के साथ खेला है in every country. He's played in England, he's played in Spain, he's played in Italy, he's played in his home countries, which is Sweden. Now he's in Italy again, playing for all teams. अच्छा ये ऐसा बंदा है कि, for example, I don't know, basketball में what's the biggest rivalry? What's the biggest rivalry between two teams? जिसमें आप कहेंगे यार ये दोनों टीमें ऐसी हैं कि आपस में like there's always फड्डा. कौन सी टीम्स हैं?
Well, you can't say one. If I want to pick one in the Western Conference, it's probably going to be the Warriors versus the Lakers.
ठीक है, so that's the biggest rivalry, right? So this guy is so much of a fan favorite across all fans, like across all nationalities, such a fan favorite. He has played for one of the biggest rivalries in football है AC Milan and Inter Milan. Both are big clubs in Italy. He's played for both clubs. And usually ऐसा होता है, if you play for one club and you end up playing for another club, the other fans absolutely hate you. They absolutely hate you. Just to give you a little bit of an example, Luis Figo was a Portuguese player. He used to play for Barcelona. And then he ended up playing for Real Madrid. Real Madrid and Barcelona are the similar type का उनका rivalry है. What happened was कि Real Madrid and Barcelona were playing in a game at Barcelona's home. Luis Figo was in Real Madrid's colors. He used to play for Barca before. Some fan actually threw, and I think if I'm remembering this correctly, a head of a pig, a severed head of a pig on the field when he was trying to take a corner. He was taking a corner or something. Just to show him.
So the extreme case scenario, basically.
Exactly. Just to give him an impact, कि बेटा, you're a pig now. That's how much people hate when you play for a rival club, like So Inter Milan and AC Milan का भी same scene है. They're very very उनकी rivalry एक ज़माने में बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी थी. अब तो दोनों clubs are not at their best, so that's why rivalry probably is not at their best. But even क्योंकि वो एक शहर के दो clubs हैं, that's why they always want bragging rights. Zlatan has played for both. So Zlatan comes from a very privileged background from that perspective. The fans love him regardless what he does. He's the kind of guy who actually talks himself up. He calls himself the lion. He says, I can go and play anywhere I want. I can do what, like he's very swagger बहुत है उसका, right?
Okay.
So he has a big mouth. He's known for a big mouth. What is the background or how would you define LeBron to someone like me whose only interaction or no knowledge of LeBron is that he's a minority shareholders in my favorite club, Liverpool. He's a minority shareholder. That's my only interaction or like मेरा उससे राब्ता है या understanding like मेरी उससे क्या कहते हैं उसे यार linkage सिर्फ यही है. I've probably seen him play maybe a couple of times here and there. I've heard he's really good because he's won so much. So I'm assuming he's very, very good. So what is he? Is he kind of the same guy from a Zlatan perspective, or where do you put him in the swagger world?
Okay, so a couple of things here, right? So when you say he's good, that's an understatement. I
Okay.
think so. Not I don't. It's not going to be an opinion. Let's talk about facts, right? He is the best basketball player currently playing. Period.
ठीक है.
Okay, there's the only one you can compare him with, and he's getting very close or probably past his record if I want to look at it, was Michael Jordan.
ठीक है.
Right? So he's the best, right? He's
the
not
best.
one of the best, he's the best, right?
Okay.
A guy
Right.
who have won 4 NBA titles, 7 times MVP player, right? So
And with
there's no
different teams.
compare.
With different teams
Yeah,
as
so
well.
yeah. So he has played with Miami Heat, he has played with Celtics, he has played now he's currently playing with the Lakers, right? So as a
He's played
player,
with Boston Celtics.
yeah, he's played with Celtics. He started with Celtics, then Miami Heat,
I didn't know
then
that.
went then Lakers.
Cleveland
So
भी तो था. Cleveland.
oh sorry, Cleveland. Sorry, my bad. No, not Celtics. Sorry, Cleveland.
वो
Cleveland.
हाँ.
My bad. Anyway, sorry, Cleveland.
हाँ.
I don't know how I missed that, but anyhow.
Sorry.
So he played with Lakers now. He's playing with Lakers now. So as a player, he's second to none currently playing. Okay.
ठीक है.
And the way you have described Zlatan,
Zlatan. हाँ.
right? LeBron is the opposite of it. He
Okay.
is not a big mouth, right? When it comes to he's not arrogant. He's not show off. He
Okay.
doesn't have a swagger. He is good. He knows that he's good on the
field.
court. He doesn't have to say it. He shows it, right?
Okay.
So based on his personality, very humble, very down to earth.
Is he similar to Michael Jordan? Because I've also heard he was kind of the same way, or was he a big mouth comparatively?
So Michael Jordan was a big mouth at the start of his career. Later on, so Michael Jordan has won more championships than anyone else right now.
Right.
But later on in his career, he became very humble. He settled down. He doesn't have to show that swagger to anyone. Because during Michael Jordan's time, he was not the only one who was the best. He was fighting against Charles Barkley, other players like what's his name? He's the one who created. I'm forgetting his name. The Shaq, right?
Shaq.
Right. So Shaquille played with him, stuff like that. So he had a lot of competition back then. LeBron at the start of his career, his biggest rival, or if you want to call rivalry, or if you want to see biggest competitor, was Kobe Bryant, right? And then during these days, it has been, what's his name, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and other people, right? But still not at the same level as LeBron. LeBron is someone else. But anyhow, so as a player, great player, as a personality, very humble person, right? He no big mouth, just stays on the court, and then outside the court, he's a normal person, lives normal life. Fine, right? He's a minority owner of Liverpool.
He doesn't play. Yeah, he doesn't play himself up, and I know that about him as well because when I found out that he's a Liverpool fan and he's actually invested the money, like itna bada fan hai wo ki he's actually a minority shareholder, and I've heard a few days ago as well that he's putting in about like 500 million into the club again as part of another consortium investment that he's building around that. So he's a very diehard supporter of the club. So I respect him for that. And then I've seen him like attend a few games. He doesn't like take the spot. I mean, he's the biggest name. अच्छा, इसका एक और story ये भी है कि Liverpool recently signed for Nike. Or Nike and Liverpool recently signed a kit agreement, very lucrative, and LeBron was a huge part of that because Liverpool had New Balance before this, and Nike, when they came to Liverpool, they said we're gonna give you more money, we're gonna give you more blah blah blah. their biggest selling point to them was that we also have LeBron. And
Got it.
LeBron, is already linked with Liverpool. There's already, brand integration there. It's going to be very easy. And I remember the day Liverpool's new jersey got released, I think LeBron was playing championships, उस वक्त चल रही थी, Western Conference चल रहा था या overall चल रहा था, I don't remember. But
Hmm.
LeBron actually donned the jersey. He was like coming out of the bus or something, na? So he's like wearing headphones and like listening to music, and he just got out of the bus, going into the match. He was wearing the Liverpool shirt. So he's so close and like इतना brand endorsement उसकी रहती है Liverpool के साथ. That's how I know him. So I
Got
can actually attest to the fact that he's I've never heard him like take the spotlight whenever he used to visit to watch
it. No.
games and all of that. So he's not like that. So coming to the story, what the story is. So we both know LeBron has been very vocal about different things in his life, especially very recently Black Lives Matter. Very recently, I think even Donald Trump, he's been very openly opposing policies of him. Not many players do that. Not many players name names, but he's been open enough to name names. So I've known that for a while now. What happened was a couple of weeks ago, Zlatan, again, with his big mouth and his swagger and his attitude, he was asked probably, and something happened. One thing led to the other, but he did open his mouth and said, and he called LeBron James out and said, okay, LeBron is a great player, all of that, blah, 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 but he should stick to what, quote unquote, what's that word? Shut up and dribble, जो बड़ा famous यहाँ पर हुआ था. I think
Right.
Fox News presenter also suggested that to LeBron way back when. So he kind of like, अगर in essence मैं बोलूँ उसने बोला क्या है Zlatan ने, तो he said just do your thing, stick to that. And his argument was that sports persons, are there to unite people. They're not there to give opposing or polarizing opinions about whatever they want to give, because I'm pretty sure LeBron has supporters, that are white, right? That are probably not, you know, probably Republicans or probably from the right, wing, whatever, right? He has a lot of support out there. People love to see him play. So Zlatan's opinion was that, hey, you know what? Just if he keeps his mouth shut, he will, when he goes to the field, the right and the left both will combine and cheer for him, and it kind of like brings a good happy feeling about him as a player, as opposed to if he goes on a field as pro or anti-Trump or whatever tagline you want to put him in. He's already creating opinions and he's already creating divides the way like the moment he steps on the field. So Zlatan, in his own logic, he said footballers, basketball players, cricketers, what have you, sports people, sports personalities, especially if they're big, huge like LeBron, should stick to playing sports and not really interfere in matters that are political or considered political.
Hmm.
When you read the statement, I know it was very, very recent that you read that statement. What did you first take away from that? Did you take away good vibes from a perspective that, oh, maybe he has an opinion, or did you take that, oh wow, is he that arrogant that he's gonna speak about LeBron? What was your first thoughts when you read that?
The latter, right?
Okay.
Uh, I mean, like I said, right, in 15 minutes, after reading the statement, after reading some of the articles that has been going around about this, right, I personally think Zlatan should be the one who should stick to his opinions and his voice versus what other people do.
Right.
I mean, you just made a very a comment on your statement that you were talking about is LeBron James has been very vocal about anti-Trump, right?
Right. Right.
Which is fine, right? He shows his side that he's a complete left or not complete. He's a Democrat. Let's say he's a Democrat. I wouldn't say he's a
Hmm.
complete lefty, but let's say
Uh-huh.
he follows Democrat, right? Where was Zoltan or Zlatan, whatever his name is? I'm sorry, uh,
Zlatan. Huh?
Zlatan, when Tom Brady, the other greatest player ever,
In NFL,
played
huh?
in NFL, says that he is pro-Trump. He is
Right.
a pure pro-Trump, and he was supporting all this time. He never kneeled down on Black Lives Matter. He was, uh, completely with Trump. So he
Right.
didn't say make an opinion. Here's my 2 cents on this thing, right? LeBron James, he's been voicing about not just Black Lives Matters, not just anti-Trump, but overall his voice has been about humanity. how to make things better, right? He's funding schools, right? Schools in underprivileged areas where children can get good education, good sports, yada, yada, yada. He's
Right.
funding to other human right activism, right? He's funding all these places. And plus he has fan following, right?
Hmm.
As he's funding, he's creating awareness to other people. What if the people that he's supporting to has, out of 10,000 or 10 million followers, one person applies the same logic again. So that means that then follows his, or picks up his torch and continues with that. That's
Right.
what I believe in, right? You know me, how the way I look at things, right?
Right.
If he has the option to show his fans that what am I doing and create awareness, then what's wrong with that? I don't think so. There's anything wrong with it. If
That
Zlatan doesn't want to do it or cannot do it, I mean,
that's his call, right? But
yeah.
where do you mentioned Tom Brady? Um, there were also some murmurs, not actually murmurs, from the left I've heard, I've seen that a lot of people criticize Tom Brady and actually hate him for the fact that he donned the MAGA hat and he's like pro-Trump or considered pro-Trump, although being from he's from the Bay Area, right? You mentioned you I think you told me the other day.
San Mateo, born and raised in San Mateo.
Exactly. So there were some criticisms of him. Where do you stand with that? Do you feel like he should that Tom Brady should be criticized for having a political opinion, or do you feel like, oh, because he can have an opinion and so does LeBron, so anyone can have whatever opinion they want, that shouldn't really seep into what their footballing ability or basketballing ability should be, right? Where do you lie with that? What's your opinion on
So
that?
so here's the thing, right? Let's make one thing clear. Is Tom Brady really pro-Trump, or is he a Republican?
That's a interesting point.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
Tom Brady is a Republican. He's a
Yep.
Christian. He follows the Bible, and
Right.
he basically is a conservative Christian who will follow a Republican ideology.
Right.
So having said that, if Barack Obama
Mm.
or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton would have stood as a Republican candidate, Tom Brady would have supported them as well.
ठीक है.
So
Okay.
let's just make
That makes
things
sense.
one clear, right? So it's not that Trump became a president, so he started supporting Republicans. So let's
Hmm.
just there's an ideology difference here, right?
Right.
And yeah, fine. People could hate him because he's supporting Trump because he's a Republican,
Right.
right? As a person, I would say people would hate him just because why are you following Republicans since you're from California, right? That's
Right.
the
Right.
the taboo they're saying.
Right.
But I don't think so. He will lose his fan following as a football player,
But do you
right?
think that it's okay for Tom Brady to have that voice in
Yes,
football?
yes.
You're completely fine with him being a Republican, openly a Republican, similar to you're fine with LeBron James being openly whatever he wants to be.
Exactly. The reason being, we live in a world, right? And practically we're living in the United States, right?
Right. Right.
One of the freedoms that we have is the freedom of speech,
Right.
and I'm a huge advocate of that. So it's their choice, it's their opinion. No one is pressurizing them. No one is putting words in their mouth. They are whatever they're saying. If they are adult enough, I mean, Tom
Hmm.
Brady is 42 years old, right?
Right.
He's not a 18-year-old kid who the media is trying to push him to say, or his agent is trying to push him to say something, right? He
Right.
knows what he's talking about. LeBron James is literally at his twilight of his career,
Right.
right? So either way, yes, my opinion or my intake on this one is anyone can speak. Even Zlatan can say whatever he wants to say.
Right.
He can talk shit about whoever he wants to. That's his opinion. But if someone is doing something, if you cannot help them, then stop criticizing them.
Right. Did you see LeBron's response, by the way, to Zlatan?
If you can refresh my memory, then it will be good because I
So
just read
yeah,
through a lot
so
of things, right?
so yeah, so Zlatan when he did that, obviously that word is going to get over to LeBron, who, like I said, very close to football, and then also Zlatan actually used to play for LA Galaxy, not that long ago.
I
So
have no idea what that is, but okay.
LA Galaxy is MLS's team. So MLS is like the English Premier League of the US. So like the
Okay.
English, like we have English teams in England. in the United States you have like a football league here, and then one of the teams actually acquired Zlatan for a year or so, and then he used to play with them. But anyway,
You mean kickball?
kickball,
Let's
yeah,
just
yeah,
make yeah.
kickball, yeah, whatever. So Z- LeBron's response was very, I would say, gracious. I would say he didn't go after him, but he did mention at the end of the statement, he said that Zlatan may have just said things about me, but he has no idea that he's picked on the wrong guy. I actually he said I read my stuff, I know myself. Whatever I'm supporting, I know
Oh yeah,
actually
I
the
do my
reasons.
research. I've done my homework in the past. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've
get
done
it.
my
Yeah,
homework.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
He said that he's picked on the wrong guy. He's not gonna like that. I'm not just some celebrity just saying whatever that comes to my mouth. I actually know what I'm supporting and why I'm supporting it.
Yeah, yeah. James LeBron is not a hashtag trender. Let's just
Right?
say that. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
where do you? So I mean, I also want to understand because there's a huge population here in the United States, as you mentioned, we live in the US. There's a huge population here who actually don't like their sportsmen being politically vocal. Case in point, what's the guy name for the 49ers?
Uh,
That's
um, uh,
that didn't come play.
the guy who started the knee, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick,
Colin
right.
Kaepernick. Yep.
So case
Yep.
in point, Colin Kaepernick. He voiced, if you want to call it voiced, an opinion about where he stood on the BLM movement and all of the right stuff that is happening in the US. Why do you think people, a large population in this country, is turned off by sportsmen having political opinion? And then not just sportsmen for that matter. If you broaden the horizon there, even like celebrities like
Celebrities. Yeah.
Hollywood celebrities, or you want to say any sportsman for that matter. Even let's go to Pakistan, right? People don't appreciate, for example, if I remember Afridi, I think one time went and visit Nawaz Sharif, and a lot of people that were pro PTI kind of like hit him back and saying, "What are you doing visiting Nawaz Sharif?" And then because stuff like that happens, people get a little offended when the people that they love or support are of a typical ideology. For example, let's say you love Steph Curry and you realize that Steph Curry is a Republican, right? Maybe
Yeah.
you will be slightly turned off and said, you know what, that's not what I wanted to see, right? Why do
Yeah.
you think that's the case? Why do you think people are turned off by political affiliations of players, celebrities, and what have you?
Okay. I mean, so you brought up Kaepernick's name. So
Right,
I don't know if you know the history, what happened, why people started. I mean, I don't want to use the term hating, but unfollowing him, right?
right,
Let me ask you a question. You and I both, you know, born and raised in Karachi, and I'm
right.
sure you both. I have, but I can speak. I don't know if I can speak for you too. That you have seen movies in theaters in Pakistan like
Of
Capri
course,
and
of
Nishat and others, right?
course, yes, yes,
When there is before a movie, there's national anthem goes on, right?
yes, yeah.
What do we do with the national anthem?
Stand up.
We stand up, right? So the issue with Kaepernick was that he was not standing up, he was kneeling down during the national anthem of the country, which even I personally think it's disrespectful for the entire country.
Why do you think that? Why? I mean, I know we're kind of like delving into that subject, but why do you think him kneeling to the national anthem is disrespectful to the country?
I mean, the national anthem is representing your country, right? You are representing a country at a bigger, larger stage, right?
But
There's a
it's
game
the
going on.
context too, right? But it's
It's
a
a context
context.
too, but there
Context
are
उसका
other
ये
ways
था.
of
हाँ,
protesting as well, right? Back in the 1960s, there was, I don't know who the name of the person is, but I remember this from some movies, or actually a article that I read, that during the civil rights movement,
right,
there was a black person, black African American, won an Olympics or some kind of national games in which he
right, right,
wore
right.
a black glove, and then he
Oh yeah,
did the
that's a famous
protest, right?
picture. That's a
Yeah,
famous picture,
exactly,
right?
right. That's the way of protesting. There's one way of protesting things, right? Kneeling down on a national anthem, uh, what is it? What does it prove?
Right. I mean, we can
And
talk
during a
about the
game, yeah, yeah. I mean, fine. Okay,
we can
that's a
talk about the
topic.
effectiveness. Yeah, we can talk about the effectiveness of the protest. But my opinion on that is that it's not just like one random morning he woke up and said, I just don't want to stand up for the national anthem. I think the context is very important to understand.
The
What
context is
was
very
going,
important, right? Yeah, he was
okay,
fighting for the rights of
what was
African Americans,
happening
for
and
the
all of
black
that,
rights.
right? So let's say if Tom Brady, like you picked that example, if Tom Brady was in the same situation, national anthem going on, but he was wearing a MAGA hat, would people be offended by that? I don't think so. People wouldn't be offended by a political statement during the national anthem. Someone should say, if someone who's a fan of the integrity and the sanctity of the national anthem, they would say, hey, keep politics aside, this is the national anthem. But if someone during the national anthem would wear a MAGA hat expressing their support for a political ideology, I think that's if I don't think people would have lost their shit. They would have actually been like okay with it. But if someone does the same thing, just kneeling down, protesting or giving their opinion on a political matter, which at the time was BLM, is to suggest, and also, I think from an African American perspective, the country hasn't been really gracious to the African American community at all. So if I was them, why would I have so much undearing, undenying love for a country that has actually enslaved my ancestors?
Yeah, but he- here's the line that you have to kind of create. If you want to protest about any particular topic, right, do it off the field. Just like
So,
so, if LeBron James is open about certain, you know, advocacy of human rights or child education, child labor, abuses of other things, Black Lives Matter, he doesn't do it on the court. He he shouts his voice outside through Twitter or through other means of whatever it is, right? Not on the court. He has never done that. Not that I know of, right?
okay, so are we suggesting then that the court is more uh,
That's the sport. Leave it as a
the,
sport.
so the sport is more the sanctity of the sport is bigger than the sanctity of whatever advocacy matters that you believe in. Is
Yeah,
that
I
what
mean,
you're saying?
if you want to be an advocate of a certain topic, whether it comes to human rights or human violations or Black Lives Matter, right? And if you have a certain amount of fan followings who will follow you as a diehard, no matter where you are, so that voice can be opinionated anywhere, whether
अच्छा
it's the
ठीक है.
court, outside the court, or whether it's on the streets, walking with all your followers.
I think
So
that's fair. That's fair. I'm not gonna suggest that kneeling is the best way or wearing a sticker or BLM on the court is the best way because I think मेरा full argument तो यही है ना कि वो to people who suggest that this shouldn't happen. मेरा argument सिर्फ ये है कि there's no best way. You can suggest that, okay, maybe this is not the right way, and this is not the best way. There's better ways, but
there are
not
better
the
ways.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are
yeah,
better
yeah,
ways. As long as I think if as long as we're on the same page where that we're open to people expressing their political opinions and whatever opinions they have, because at the end of the day, they're human beings, they're not robots, who are made for our entertainment. They're
yeah.
there to voice their opinions as well, especially with people like LeBron James and Zlatan, who have massive fan following. If they can encourage and influence a little bit of a good change and a good trend about humanity, there's nothing wrong in that.
Yeah.
Just before I finalize this, there was a slight. I mean, I think it would be very uh, unfair if we don't bring this up about LeBron. There was a slight. I don't know if you know about this. There was a slight controversy about him in China and something like that. Did you hear about that?
No.
I think if I remember this correctly, and anyone who's listening out there can call me out on this. I don't think if I'm remembering this correctly, but there was a controversy about him signing some sort of a deal with Nike. Nike kind of like making shoes out of Wuhan, or not, sorry, not Wuhan. What's the province where the whole Muslim thing is going on
Oh,
in the
you
Uyghurs, right?
get Uyghur, yeah,
Uyghurs, right?
yogurt, yeah.
So I think there's a factory over there Nike has, and people were calling him out on the fact that, hey, why are you supporting, Nike, knowing that they are using the same labor that they are, you know,
I mean, we
they're
can say a lot of things about that
I know
actually.
apprehensive again. So there were a lot of people critical about him on that. But honestly, like I said, मुझे कुछ ज़्यादा इल्म नहीं उसके बारे में. I don't know कि what was the big deal. But I'm sure if LeBron knew about the atrocities going on in that province, he wouldn't knowingly, just for the money, he wouldn't do that deal. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think
exactly.
he's at a stage in his career. I don't think money is an issue anymore.
I don't
He's
think so that
Yeah,
either.
yeah. I don't think if he doesn't have Nike, Nike actually needs him more than he needs Nike. So I don't think there's a relationship where he's like bound by the brand to do whatever the brand asks him to do. Because if it's not Nike, I'm sure Adidas will pay him not just trucks load of money to sign with them. So I don't think brand is not an issue for him.
No.
Brand imaging or something like that is an issue for him.
Can I say
Final
something
thoughts,
before we
yes.
end this? No,
Yeah.
not a final thought, but one statement, then final thought, right?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
A statement is, Colin Kaepernick played for 49ers, and then after this whole Black Lives Matter kneeling down things happened, no one signed him, right?
Right.
And then people are saying like, because of this whole situation, no one is signing him. Let me just make one comment here, right? It's not because of this kneeling down and Black Lives Matter and all the protesting thing. People are not signing him. They're not signing him because he suck.
He's not really a good player, is what you
He's
say.
not. Exactly.
So
He's not.
pre kneeling down thing, he wasn't really inspiring on the field.
Nope. Nope. Never.
But there must be worse player than him who are actually playing. Surely, right?
Let me say he's not a starter quarterback. I wouldn't play him as a starter quarterback. He could be a second backup quarterback.
But the people like
Let me
you're
tell
not,
you this, right? So let me
yeah,
tell you this. During the last 4 5 years before Tom Brady joined Buccaneers when he was at
Patriots
yeah, New England Patriots. 3 years ago, who was his backup quarterback?
who was?
Jimmy Garoppolo,
I have no idea who that is.
who's now the current quarterback of 49ers, who took
Oh,
49ers last year all the way to Super Bowl last
okay,
year,
okay.
right? So
Okay.
think of that as a backup quarterback who can become a full quarterback
For
for a team,
another
right?
another franchise, yeah.
And who can take it all the way to Super Bowl and lose Super Bowl to Kansas City a year ago, not this year,
Right.
but last year, right?
So
So
he's not even that level, you saying?
he's not even. I mean, no way even close. So that was a statement that, or a comment
How
that I wanted to make.
how old
So,
is he? Is he like a young? Was he like a young player, up and
oh
coming
yeah,
player
yeah,
when that happened?
I think 49ers were the first team that he signed up for as a full-time quarterback. So he's still young. He still can play. It's just like I think he's not as great to play for 49ers. Maybe yeah, there's some second-tier teams. There are many there. I don't want to name some fans can
Right,
get very
offended.
offended about my comment here, but there are some teams that he can play for who cannot afford quarterbacks like Garoppolo, who 49ers is paying $150 million for 4 years, right?
Right, right.
So anyhow, point being, just I'm saying like his not getting signed with team is not just because of he was doing the protest. It's because he's not as good of a player that you can think he was. So
That also plays a role. But then FYI, speaking of Kaepernick and Nike, Nike actually did pay him, and they were kind of like working together, right? Nike and Kaepernick.
yeah.
So I'm
They
sure
were
like he hasn't been like out of a job and out of money for the last 4 years
right.
or
I mean,
something.
if you would ask me about NFL, my knowledge of NFL is far greater than compared to NBA. I only
Okay.
watch NBA after during the playoffs. I don't watch the normal season. But
No,
anyhow,
I would say.
final thoughts, sir. You start.
Final thoughts, I think pretty much clear. I think we're on the same page as far as like footballers or sportsmen being opinionated. Even though if I like the one thing that I can probably relate this to is if in Pakistan a favorite cricketer of mine, let's say I don't know
I
Shaheen Shah
mean,
Afridi, Shaheen Shah
Imran
Afridi.
Khan, he
No,
was
no,
the biggest advocate during his playing days for the hospital.
right. But I mean, I'm just saying that if Shaheen Shah Afridi right now, if I'm a fan of him, says I am a Nawaz Sharif supporter, for example, right? Uh, I can understand that people who are left thinking or feeling how they would feel if someone from someone who they love is supporting the right. I can understand that feeling, but regardless of that, I would still love him as a sportsman,
Yeah,
and I would still be admiring him on the field, and I would say, yeah, well played and all of that. I wouldn't all of a sudden develop a hate towards him. Similarly, if I can do that, I'm pretty sure a lot of fans out there who feel very strongly about the sports that they admire and sportsmen that they admire, they should find it amongst themselves is to appreciate the art form, which is the sport itself, the way they play it. LeBron James is an artist. He's an amazing player. Zlatan himself is a fantastic player. He's almost nearing 40, 41 or something like that. He's still playing the top level. That's admirable. So the people, usually footballers retire when they're 33, 34, and they play like small leagues here, there, and then they go into they go into their retirement. Zlatan in his early 40s is still playing for one of the biggest clubs in Italy. He's still playing at the top level, scoring goals. So admirable. So all of these opinions, they can have their opinions as long as you can separate the opinions from the person. I think I'm fine with that. What are
Yep.
your final thoughts? Sorry, Bhai.
Likewise, right? What you just mentioned, right? If you have an opinion, say it, right? People have, we have the now. I mean, now everyone, sportsmen, celebrities, politicians, whoever has fan following or fan following or fan base, they have the tools to spread awareness of whatever, right? Whether
Right.
it's about a political campaign, whether it's about human right uh, activism, or
Activity,
whether
yeah.
it's whatever it is, right? If they have the means, they have the resources, they have the tools, just do it, right? As long as those opinions, comments are not affecting your sportsmanship, and at the same time, then I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
And
everyone
then
has the right to
also
opinion.
they're not offensive. Like you can't just become a racist because you have
Oh
an
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's given, right? That's given, right? I'm
that
not
goes
saying
without
that.
saying.
Yeah, that's goes without saying. Exactly. You cannot be offensive. You cannot be racist. You cannot, let's not be. Let's say don't be negative on those things. Let's
Yeah.
show if you're supporting something, show why you're supporting it, and support it in more of a positive domain than going towards a negative connotation on that.
Awesome, awesome. With that, we'll wrap up the episode again. Appreciate Sahib Bhai for joining me on such short notice on something that you literally picked up and read in a couple of minutes, and you had a lot to say. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate that. We'll be back with more dilemmas, kind of relating episodes down the line, and hopefully I can have the full gang with me down the line, including someone called
The one and only
the one and
Mr.
only.
Mr. Ashfaq.
We'll be in touch again, and we'll come back and record another one. Really appreciate your time. Talk to you soon, and yeah, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with another one. Thanks.